So my mother had such respect to the point of bringing herself down. Like she would elevate doctors to a level that she was Holocaust Untermenschen, subhuman next to a doctor. Like in her head, if you had a dentist appointment, you had a doctor appointment, we were there 3 hours early. We took the bus. We were there. I remember going to the dentist. We were there before freezing cold. The dentist isn't, the whole building is not open yet. It's like we're there before 8 o'clock. The dentist walks in, oh, Connie, thank you for coming. I'll be right with you. You know, like he's having to shuffle just to get his office started. Because my mother would be 3 hours early and she'd be like, I brought a book, you. I'm like, this is retarded. What are we? And she didn't want to waste anybody's time, and she was so grateful of people's time.
Is this
and
Montreal
I think it's carried
or
over. This is
Montreal?
Montreal. But she was the same either way.
Yeah. I'm gonna introduce the show
Please.
now. But we got a taste of your mom and dentists in Montreal. So already the viewers and listeners got a taste.
That's it.
And feel free to vape. Hi and welcome back. Oh, is this my camera, Max? Yep. Thanks. Hi, it's funny you should mention what do we say? A Gist and Comedy Cellar co-production. And I'm here with Robby Hoffman, who has an amazing life story, which ends here with the Funny You Should Mention episode. I'm not saying that we will kill her at the end of the episode, but this is the culmination of all she's been through. She's a fascinating podcaster. The way she tells a joke is like any other, and she looks at the world. Well, I should probably say unlike any other, and she looks at the world in different ways, and I want to get into why and what we do on the show. Hey, Robby, by the way, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
What we do on the show is I like to think of jokes as like premises and arguments about the universe. I mean, this is a way a lot of comedians look at jokes too, so we talk about it. And so, for instance, I'll start with this. I think a lot of your humor, you tell me if you agree, is pointing out or you being annoyed at the elevation of very boring or non-exceptional people or statements into something that we're supposed to make a big deal about. And your job is to point this out and say, this is not exceptional at all.
It's one facet of a million things that I do. And yes, that's become an epidemic in this country. Interesting people are few and far between. And that's it. You know, not everybody can talk. Not everybody can act. Not everybody. And we're seeing that. We're seeing the survival of the fittest, especially in a talk medium, something like podcast. You know, I think why my podcast has resonated, and we are, the Too Far podcast is Patreon only. I have been demonetized on every platform. We're on Patreon and doing well is because I take talk as seriously as I take any other craft that I do. I take talk as serious as I take stand-up, my writing. I'm in 2 big television shows coming out. I took those very seriously. I don't just think I can do anything. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't go to space. I have no interest. I know there's experts who do space.
Yes.
And it's the reason I think we're seeing it fundamentally play out in at least entertainment culture, where late night shows are, empty. Late night shows. I mean, it's archaic because we have talk show hosts who do not know how to talk. And it seems basic to say you should have a talk show host who knows how to talk. But of course, we have people reading off prompters. If the prompter goes down, they're way out. And I think the medium of podcasting has blown up because the talkers have finally a place where we'll see if you can talk.
Yes, the revenge of the talkers. But now with Instagram, it's the lookers too. It helps.
Well, I happen to be a cutie.
Yes, Wes.
So, you know what? I am a cutie in my own way. We weren't sure how I would get through it, but there is a market for me out there now, which is very nice for me, Baruch Hashem. Yeah.
When you say you take talking as seriously as anything else, do you mean when you're going on a show and if you know of the topic? Most of the shows you go on, I think, are improvised or just they talk about what comes up. But you think about it beforehand. You think about maybe this is a good word order. This isn't. I'm going to be interesting. You plan it out?
Like when I'm doing stand-up?
No. You say you take talking as seriously.
I just talk a lot and I practice it a lot. I do 1 or 2 podcasts a week.
Mm-hmm.
I'm certainly on the talk circuit. I take a dinner party seriously. I mean, there was a time in old books that I've read, and I stopped reading in 2004. But when I used to read, it was important to people how they sat people at a dinner party.
Right.
This so and so would get along with so and so. I'm the same way now. If somebody's at a dinner party and their story is not moving, I'm going to move it along. We're here for a finite amount of time. I cannot waste time. I mean, I realized this early that people were not good at stories and some were good at stories. I had this friend in university who got into class and she came in a huff, like as if she had this like huge story. And she was like, I went to fill the meter for the car and there was already a quarter in there. That was the story.
That was it.
I go, I remember snapping. I go, that's not a story. Absolutely nothing has happened to you. You get into class, you sit down, you shut up. Who hasn't gone to a meter and there's already 5 minutes? Like, there wasn't. It was so. The delusion.
Yes. Now, do you think that that's not a story because it's just inherently not a story and shut up about it? Or could you, as a good talker, if that was bothering you, would you gussy it up? Would you make it into a story?
No.
Would you use your... No, you just know
There's
not.
nothing to... It's not a story. It's not a story. Sometimes I think of something. I'm so thrilled that I get to work in so many different mediums. I write television and I do stand-up and I talk. And sometimes I have a thing and it's just a tweet. Sometimes I have a thing, it's a stand-up bit. Sometimes I have a thing, it's a feature. Sometimes I have a thing, it's a script. A thing is a thing. It doesn't... You don't have to have everything. For me, I think it comes off when you said like, oh, I point out... To me also... This is how I enjoy. For me, to complain is to enjoy.
Of course.
If I'm not complaining, something is awry.
Right.
Something has... I could be on Jeff Bezos's yacht and find it too shaky. I mean, it's like I would have... That's how I enjoy things. Is it could be perfect, but I'll see a crack. And it's what, that's just how I enjoy. It means everything I didn't mention is fine.
Yeah.
Everything I didn't mention is actually great.
This is a process of elimination.
Yeah, so people are surprised to find how positive I am.
Yeah.
IRL in my life because they think, well, this is... I said, but everything I didn't mention is fantastic.
That's right. Do you know how often you're not talking? It's actually most of the time taking into account sleep and just letting the other person talk. So take that as your endorsement. Robby Hoffman endorses you by shutting up about your flaws.
That's it. I barely talk when you take into account the time I'm sleeping. You're totally right.
Yeah.
I'm what they call shy.
Uh-huh. Are you a shy sleeper?
No, I thank God sleep good.
Uh-huh.
That's why I'm somebody who's on time and that sort of thing. Something I revere about comedians. I love a lot of different comedy. I think when I started this, I might not have known, but now I like anybody who does it.
Mm-hmm.
Especially people who can do it well. But I like people who do it way differently than me. People give Pete Davidson, somebody like that, a very hard time. I find him just a delight. Is he doing much? No. Is it a joy of an hour? It is. I'm more on the Taylor Swift side of things where I work and do and try a lot. I'm putting out a lot. I'm always trying. I'm always doing a lot. And that really works for me. But I like the guys like Pete who don't do much. Both styles can work.
Right.
And I like kind of, I don't know, I can appreciate something that's very different than me, but they're doing that good.
So in your recent act that I saw a few days ago, when you criticized Taylor Swift's 30 songs, none of them as bangers, is there a self-critique in there?
No, because I love Taylor and there's nothing there's nothing deeper. I always wonder, like sometimes, maybe not even poetry, but sometimes a dead author or something, they're like, what did he mean by this? Like, we don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he just meant what the fuck he meant.
Yeah, often.
I said what I said. Often, I said what I said, and I clarify anything I said. I'm not pithy. I will go into a long reason of why I think you know what I mean? So there shouldn't be any, if I'm talking about me, I will talk about me, but Taylor, we're just such big fans of. And I think it's more of a commentary that, kind of a less obvious take on the fact that, her music is better when she's going through heartbreak.
Yeah.
Rather than when she's in love with, an NFL ball player. So to me, it was kind of not the obvious take on it. It just, the music speaks for itself. When the music's bad, her personal life is going well.
What about you? You're in love. You talk about your girlfriend a lot. She talks about you on her show.
You're addicted to the vape.
No, I know, but I just bought Alan Carr's book, How to Quit Vaping.
I know, but is it working? You have full-blown
I haven't read the
laryngitis
book
and you're
yet.
still hitting the
No,
vape.
babe. I haven't read the fucking book yet.
Babe, what about your laryngitis? You don't need
Babe,
a book to tell
ordered
you
the book.
what
Step
is
one,
damaging
order
your
the book.
vocal cords.
Step 1, order the book. Am I gonna have to get you Alan Carr's How to Quit the Zin?
No, I don't want to quit. I'm full blown.
She started yesterday.
I don't have an addictive personality. I can quit whenever I want.
You're addicted to me.
It's very hard for me to enjoy the good. I think I do very well in a disaster. So that's why it was like COVID happened, I sold a show. Everybody was like, Trump, people are freaking out about Trump. It's disastrous times. I tend to do very well in disastrous times.
Do you think you get calmer, or the rest of the world falls apart and you just stay the same as you were, as your baseline?
I don't know. I think that I'm just wired to do well in Depression era times. I think the way that I grew up, juxtaposed with society on the outside of something, more religious, was just and just growing up so poor that I'm like prepared for that. Like, I think deep down, I'm like always looking at a room like, I would make this the nicest apartment alive. Like, if this was my whole life, it would be just like sensational, because I am so used to that. So when I have more and stuff, when things are going well, I'm a little shakier when things are doing well.
Yeah. They say a lot of Jews, a lot of people who lived through the Holocaust, a lot of people who lived through trauma, a lot of people who lived through the Depression are like that. Like, that's their comfort zone. And they go to many psychiatrists to try to point that out. I try and I'm trying to get used to the good times. But for as many years as I think if your childhood is so hard, it's going to take me double as long. I have to really be in good times for a long time because it's not as potent. So you had 9 brothers and sisters, and you first born in Crown Heights, just a couple blocks from where I live now. Then
Beautiful.
Then you moved to Montreal, and you're very poor, and your parents split up, and your mother was trying to raise 10 kids on just welfare. Yeah. Trying to get to the dentist early and doing whatever she could to mitigate her circumstances. But some of that, obviously, well, it all created who you were, but some of that is great fodder. And even though it was hard, you probably look back and say, not just the cliche of, oh, it made me who I am, but this exact skill that is very marketable and is core to my appeal to thousands of people, it's all because of these horrible things that happened to me.
I mean, it can be. I know. So I have some very wealthy friends. I mean, who are able to speak from within that and speak to their own stuff. Jerry Seinfeld grew up okay, and he's one of the best. I don't think there's ever rules.
Yes, you're right.
I think it's how you play your deck. I am hesitant about rules about growing up or whatever. Can you be good? Can you not? There's a million Nepo babies now who, they're fine. They're good. Like, what do you want? I mean, there's obviously Nepo babies that are not. There's, Jaden Smith is the son of Will and Jada Pinkett Smith. I mean, he's best friends himself, Jaden Smith, with Justin Bieber, one of the greatest pop artists of my generation. His parents are the most connected. He's been making music, Jaden Smith, for 10 years, best friends with Bieber. His parents are the Smiths, friends with everyone, and he doesn't have a single hit. I mean, you're making music for 10 years. And there's not a single hit. Justin Bieber is sharing his music. I mean, that is unbelievable. So there's people like that.
His engineers, his know-how, stand in front of my studio. I'll tell you everything I know. Jaden can't do it.
Right. And then there's other people who do very well with famous parents. So I don't think there's a rule necessarily how you play your cards. I think it's tougher and tougher to play unfair decks. Yeah. I think poverty sucks, and I wish I didn't have to be talented, and I wish I didn't have to be so unique and talented. You know, I have siblings who are good, hardworking people, and you know, and they don't want to be public. They're private people, and I think they're entitled to a life of dignity. And I think that, you know, one of the only ways to get out if you're poor is like, because I had a friend tell me this. He grew up very wealthy. We know him. He's a comedian here. Very wealthy. Father's on a Harvard, whatever. And he said, well, you're here.
Yeah.
We took a walk, and he's like, so you got out like as if nothing. And I'm like, but I shouldn't have to be special. You didn't have to be special. You have two brothers who suck, and they're fine.
Did you
have a house and the whole thing? You know, it's like, why do you have to be special if you're poor to make it?
Are your 9 brothers and sisters? I'm sure 9 of them, 9 different stories, but have they achieved some level of success?
Yes.
Middle class
No.
success?
My family, nobody is hungrier than the Hoffmans. My family has done very well. There's certain members of my family who want simpler lives.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually, you know, they live in Canada still. And it makes me happy knowing they live in Canada because they can work a 40-hour week, have the dignity of an apartment, maybe have a pet, have a bus pass. And here, I just don't think that's achievable.
Do you think Canada is better for most people, but the United States is better for you?
Yeah, I mean, in entertainment, the U.S., you know, is king.
But even, I mean, this is what many successful Canadians point out. There's a limit. There is not even just a cultural limit because of the tax code. They don't want to make superstars. And the United States is for it's boom or bust. Yeah, there's
no.
a huge
Of course.
gap in the
This is the
middle.
entertainment industry. You go, you know, if I worked, you know, in finance, I'd be on Wall Street. So I totally get that. But it is, you know, I think back to your original point, I think it depends, you know, the cards you play. There are certain hands that are easier to play. And that even if you don't play them and you fold, you're still in a nice house.
Yeah.
You know, with cards like mine, you have to play them. You have we can't fold. I mean, I had to play whatever 2 and 4 I had. I'm taking the subway with my 2 and 4 and seeing what the fuck I can do.
Yeah.
So, you know, I don't know.
So of the things that mark you as an outsider, which is great for comedy because you observe the mainstream. You're lesbian, you're poor, you grew up in not just Jewish, but Chabad, which is a very ultra-Orthodox religious community. And then you have the Canadianness, which I don't want to downplay. I mean, so many comics come from Canada and they say, well, we're American enough to get your culture, but outside of it enough to comment on it. So probably all of those things.
I've always been on the outside. Like when I'm in
so many ways, right?
When I was living in Montreal, I obviously came off very American. You know, in Canada, I was known as from New York. I'm an American. You know, my mother moved 10 of the Jewish Jews alive to Canada. I mean, we stuck out. You know, I mean, I have brothers in Regina, Saskatchewan. I mean, there's not a single Jew, let alone Shmuley, you know, in Regina, Saskatchewan, which, by the way, they could pronounce Regina. It's the same spelling, but they go out of their way. They go out of their way to pronounce it Regina.
It's all
same spelling, easy fix.
Yeah.
Will not do it. So
they could rename it Moose Jaw. They don't.
No,
I mean, there are a lot of choices.
Well, there's already a Moose Jaw.
Yeah.
So it boggles the mind, but. I think that, and then when I'm here, people remember I'm Canadian. So it's always, you know, I've always been sitting kind of on a binary of two things. Yeah.
When you say, so one of the things you say that always gets a laugh from my wife is just demarcating currency in USD. This costs 24 USD.
Yeah.
And to us, it's
crazy.
funny because we don't expect it, but to a Canadian, everything will either be in USD.
USD is like, yeah, it's a trauma when things are in USD. It's just like 12 USD could be 65 Canadian. Like you never know what the exchange is. It's like it's going to be bad. But I do remember
it's always going to be bad, right?
It's always bad.
Never going to work out in the Canadians'
But
favor.
now I go to Canada and it's like going to Mexico for me.
Yeah.
I'm like buying this, I'm buying that. But my father, we have an estranged relationship. But when I was a kid and we moved to Canada, when he had the money occasionally, I remember a couple birthdays, I got 100 USD.
USD. In one bill?
One bill.
Wow.
I mean, there's nothing like a hundo.
Yeah.
There's just nothing like a hundo. You know what? Gabby laughs because I like to keep. Actually, the seller here, when she puts me on, she's mad I live in LA and I get 2, 3. I mean, it's crazy because I do so well here. You know this. But when she gives me 100,
Yeah.
I like to keep it in my wallet. I like to have 100 in my wallet. There's something like, again, it's that depression mentality. If this all go, I have cash on me. Like
At least
I
you're not
have
sewing it into your
100.
jeans or something.
Yeah, no, literally, it should be my jeans brand. Should be 100. But yeah, there's certain things that just you can't beat. A crisp 100 is just chef's kiss.
Yeah.
They just nailed it with the U.S. $100 bill.
And Ben Franklin, very uncontroversial, like probably the best or funnest of the founding fathers.
I don't
As
even
opposed
know
to the
who's
Queen
on it.
every single time. Ugh.
I don't know who's on it even. I would have a little lockbox. I had a master lockbox, not a piggy bank, you know, and with a key, put the hundo under my bed. Nobody knows what I'm sitting on. It was excellent.
When you had it in Canada, would you go out and spend it? And would they?
You would get 150 Canadian for it. About. So I would wait for something that I wanted. And I don't know. It was just very depressing when I spent it. I just liked having it.
Yeah.
My favorite thing about money is just having it.
Yeah. So spending it, does it make you a little depressed?
If I have enough of it,
Yeah.
I also like to spend. But I'm particular. I don't buy a lot. I buy specific. And I trade up a lot. You know, my first car I bought for $3,600. And then I sold it for $6,000. Then I took that $6,000. I bought an old Porsche, $21,000. Took the $6,000 off. I got it for, you know, like $15,000. No car payment. Still driving it. It's amazing. It's a Porsche that nobody would want. Base model came in. Porsche people are like, you know, when they get, and I don't care.
Because it's a Porsche?
A Porsche is a Porsche is a Porsche. I got it for $3. I have no car payment.
How do you? I thought the whole thing about you drive off the lot, it loses half its value. How do you turn a $3,600 car?
No,
into
because
$6,000?
I buy used.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And then-
no, Porsche can appreciate.
Right.
I only
Well,
buy
I'm
things
talking about the first one. It goes from
the first one
36 to
became
6.
vintage. It was a 1983 Toyota Corolla.
Did you buy it with
and
that
then
in
it
mind?
turned 30 years old.
Yeah.
And I had a buyer for $9,000 who fell off, and then I just took the second one, $6,000, because I got it for $3,600. But it became vintage in the time that I owned it, so it was a car show officially. So that's how it appreciated, because you just can't find it.
Are you a car person, or do you?
I've
are you
become a car
appreciation
person by de facto. At first, only being able to afford an old car, then enjoying the tinkering lifestyle of having old things. And, you know, I feel like people are young at heart. I've always been old at heart.
Yeah.
Like a trans person, they get all their surgeries.
Yeah.
Like, you know, they get their bottom surgery, their top surgery. They look in the mirror after all this expended effort and money and surgery, and finally their body matches who they are inside. I feel like I'm going to turn 73. I'm going to catch myself in the mirror. Mm-hmm. And finally, my body will match who I've been inside. My program will be on in the other room. You know,
So you're not transgender. You're trans ageist.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
So the old cars actually worked for me.
But then you also have a joke in the show where someone asks you, "Are you transgender?" And so the first joke is like, people just are asking this. But then I think you come down a little hard on yourself in contrast with your observation a few minutes earlier, which you gave to me today. You're a cutie. So which is
I am
it?
a cutie.
Is there something weird, or are you a cutie?
It's weird and it's a cutie.
Is the weirdness
Weird
what makes
hot.
you cute?
Weird hot is
Okay.
in.
Okay.
Weird hot
Is
has
this like
always
a version
been.
of what, the rat guy? You don't.
I
look
don't know.
rat-like,
I
but
don't know
you
who the rat guy is, but weird hot has always been. And I was with a couple comedians. We were at like a comedy festival, and we ended up hanging out in one of my friends' hotel rooms, a bunch of the girl comics, and we were all just like kikiing, having a good time. And one of my friends said she slept with an old fat guy. She's smoke show. Both of these girls were just so hot. She was like, and she was like, yeah, she's been sleeping with this old fat guy, and it's been really hot. And the other friend goes, I want to sleep with an old fat guy. Like, it's just sometimes if you're in a mood for weird hot, you're in a mood for weird hot. I think I hit that. I'm not an old fat guy.
Right.
But I hit something for some girls that is, you know.
And do you think that's always been, or like, did you luck into, I don't know, changing the zeitgeist or taste or something like that?
Listen, you know, I equated it. Listen, I got no dick.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm good at talking. I can text. You know, it's kind of like your senses. Like somebody who can't see smells very good.
Right.
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 My senses, I've been okay with in that department. Thank God.
Although, and this leads me to something I wanted to ask. I was listening to your girlfriend's show, and she was talking about, and I had to look up what this was, that you have acquired a Packer. Did you know she talked about this?
No idea.
Okay.
I'm learning right now.
So here we go. So
I'm learning right now.
Right. So a Packer is a little mini appendage, and she talks
Yeah.
about when she goes out to the club, she likes to grind
Yes.
against you. Okay. I have no Packer specific questions unless you want to fill me in.
Okay.
My question is more about lines. And do you each, since you do comedy and she's out there doing podcasts, do you have to check in with each other afterwards? Or do you have any
No, I
rules
don't
before?
care.
You don't care.
We don't
Can
care.
she say anything on her show that
Yeah.
would piss you off?
No.
No.
And if it did, I would tell her. Who cares?
Yeah.
I mean, it's okay to be pissed off. I also think like it's okay. You know, people are. I think we're moving past this, but this idea of people being offended and whatever. I don't think being offended is that bad. I think like I don't know anyone who expects to live a life not being offended. You know.
Right.
I just don't think being offended or pissed off is that bad. You're not in Gaza. Calm down. Like what? Like it's not.
And their problem is an offense. I would say.
Yeah, it's just like there's so many. Like I accept life with the full rainbow of life that I'm, you know, happy and sad and excited and nervous and sometimes pissed off and sometimes elated. I think you need the entire stew. So I don't think, let's say she pissed me off. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not expecting not to ever be pissed off.
So this actually fits in with what we were talking about earlier, conversation and people being bad
As
at
you're talking about
conversation.
packing, all I see is unpacking in that. Unpacking, profound.
Oh, yeah, the word unpacking.
I should just take my packer out.
You could do packing videos,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
An unpacking video.
Yeah.
That would probably sell pretty well. That could be for Patreon
Yeah,
subscribers.
yeah.
Yeah. So early on, we were talking about how just people are boring and they don't bring any conversational skill or think they need to. And I was thinking about this. And so the etymology of
And by the way, I love boring people. This is the thing. I don't hate anyone. I just, whoever you are, be you.
yeah.
I just like people when they're people. I don't think, I don't have a definition of boring except for somebody trying to be who they're not. There's a dissonance, and that's where the bore comes in.
Yeah, I think
I love boring or what people would consider boring people. I don't even know that. It's awkward. Yeah, even though I complain about all these things, again, I also love everything simultaneously. I hate and love equally.
I probably mischaracterized what you said. You don't talk about boring people. You talk about our national or international personality deficit. Right?
There's a bad personality disorder.
Yeah.
That's taken over the country, and a lot of people have bad personalities, but we don't talk about it.
But I think it's actually symptomatic, these foodies, it's symptomatic of a larger issue going on in this country that nobody is talking about. Nobody is talking about it. Millions of people being affected. Millions of people being untreated, undiagnosed, but zero personality disorder has become an epidemic in this country. It's the reason we have white people rock climbing. and white people slacklining in the park, balancing on a string between two trees. 33 years old. Have you seen this? But it's sad, this suffering, and my heart goes out. It really does. It really does.
What we've started doing with personalities is attributing to all the people with interesting personalities. They now have ADD, ADHD, bipolar. They have all these things, right? When it's just, we forgot that people have various personalities. Like, I don't know where the word personality went, but it went away. It was replaced by neurodivergent type of diagnoses and, you know, regular people who we forgot that some people have bad personalities.
Yeah. Because when we talk about personality, when someone with expertise talks about personality, the word that always comes next is disorder, right?
I know.
Like here, what's wrong with your personality? No one just celebrates, well, this guy's got a good personality.
I know. Yeah. Some people have just a great personality. Yeah. Some have a bad, I'm like, bad, like people who, and it's funny because people go, I always, you know, my joke about the personality was like, you know, that's why we have white people rock climbing or white people slacklining in the park, you know, because
slackline,
you know, because bad personality disorder has become
off the fucking ground.
Yeah, you know, but the truth is, I rock climb. So people are mad that I rock climb, and I'm like, I'm joking. Like, it's always amazing when people think that like I'm the news, that like that we should be like we have any factual basis for anything we say. It's like, the news isn't even real anymore, yet you want me to be real? The news is not fact-checked. I'm fact-checked? Like, it's just, like, people hate when they're like, don't you rock climb? I'm like, yeah, I love it. And they're like, but I said, yeah, I'm joking. Everybody here but me has a personality. Obviously, that's not true.
But do you lead with that? Will you tell people rock climbing stories if they weren't interested beforehand? You know not to do that. I found out
I've never done that.
Right.
No.
I didn't know that you rock climb, even though I've heard you on dozens of podcasts, because you understand what it means to be
no, I don't need to hear about somebody's workout per se.
Yes.
That said, I've started working out. I mean, I don't mind telling somebody that, but no, this all comes very natural to me.
Yeah.
These are not I'm not thinking about, I remember when I was straight, I would go out with a guy, like, and I would remember being so nervous with my friends before, like, what am I going to talk to this guy about? Like, suddenly, with my friends, we were all funny and all, but I would get alone with a guy, maybe 16 years old, 15, 14, I don't know, and I would write topics, like, I can talk about this, like, because I literally was so nervous to be with a guy alone because I had no interest, like, that I would have to think of things to talk about because I was so bored out of my goddamn mind that I'm like, how am I going to sit with this guy for 2 hours? So I would immediately try to get to hand job as soon as possible. Just so as not to
cover up all conversational.
Like, I have nothing to say to this boy. Like, I have nothing.
Are these 16-year-old yeshiva kids from Montreal?
They're not yeshiva, but they're like, you know, nerd, whatever, nice boys. And I'm just like, take your pants off and, you know, I'm going to hand rape you now. And basically, you know.
They can't say no.
No, they were hard as, you know, it's 2 minutes. And then it would cut the time because after that, I'm going home. I don't want to be here with you sitting in that disgusting mess. So, but these kids were always kind of in love, and it was, they were always very in love. And I used to think I was so mean to love interests because I would be like, why are you crying at my locker? Like, I'm like, this guy. I'm like, no, do not talk to me at school. I have no interest, okay? And then with girls, I'm like the kindest, most romantic. Like, I realized these poor guys that were in love, it's like, guys have a sick thing where they want somebody who doesn't want them.
Women don't want that? I thought women want
I've never been into people who don't want me, which is good. I do know dykes who like to go for a straight girl or something like that. I've never liked to be predatory or feeling like somebody's not into me. I want somebody into me and I want to be in the person. Like I like being into each other. I like that feeling. But yeah, the guys in high school who were so kind, and I would just maybe give them hand jobs. They would know like to keep the chit chat slow, to keep it low, and that's what we were doing. But I would have to think of things to talk to them about because it didn't come natural. And over time, as I became comfortable, even though talk was always natural, so yeah, these are not things I think about.
When I said I mischaracterized your description of our national personality deficit, you're right. You never criticized boring people. If boring people are boring and more or less know it and don't try to adopt some personality that's more elevated, that's fine with you.
I love people who are themselves.
Yeah.
Like that's something I love. I think always be the most you.
Yeah. And I think, and tell me what you think of this.
But it's hard. It takes time to do that too. So I'm not out of the gate. Everybody has to have themselves figured out. I mean, we're all on different. I think it takes the amount of a life to figure out a life.
Yeah, because we all get pushed or rewarded. The stimulus that we get as animals interacting with each other dictates what the next interaction is going to be. Yeah. So I do think society is probably not doing anyone a favor by kind of giving the message that here are some topics of conversation that are going to go well, or even, and I know you're attuned to this, here are some phrases to use in your conversation to make you seem more interesting, like talking about my truth. I mean, this is like another joke you have was like, this is just true for me. And your observation was, well, of course it's true for you. That's what we're doing in conversation.
Yeah, like you're going to talk about you.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm going to talk about me.
Yeah.
That's how this is going to go. I don't know your shit.
Yeah.
You don't know my shit. So let's tell each other's shit. That's kind of conversation. It's this other idea that the world doesn't revolve around you. I think you were getting to that. These are things I heard. Sometimes they would say the world doesn't revolve around you. And I would just be sitting there like, but it literally does. I am only on the vantage point of my 2 feet. Everywhere I look, I can look around. I can still only look out from my eyes. Our world's literally quite like if we're a protractor in math. You're standing on the feet of your protractor and you can look around, but you can still only ever see from your vantage point, from your perspective. So the world does revolve around you, and it revolves around you and you and you. It revolves. That's the whole thing. You have your own world, it collides with another world, and we have Venn diagrams that go, and so we're gonna share our worlds with each other. But I don't like to be assumed to know yours or you assume to know mine.
Right. And so this is a point of conversation that I think people are forgetting. And you're pointing this out. It comes from the word, or a related word is converve, which is to try to change someone. The reason we converse is to some extent to convince them, to tell them, maybe even not to win them over, but just here's my point of view. And now you're different and now you're convinced. And we've begun to apologize for that in a big way. We're going to converse and we might disagree and I might actually change your mind. I'm not sorry about that. I think I've done you a great favor.
Yeah, I'm just so comfortable. I think growing up in close quarters with 9 other siblings, my great uncle Eddie and my mother, I think, may he rest in peace, I think that I'm just so comfortable disagreeing and existing.
Yeah.
It's just, it to me is not, it just is. Like, I think rich people, I've talked to this to some extent, but I'm sure not to your audience, but I think that rich people, maybe they had their own room growing up. So maybe 2 sisters or a brother and sister had a fight and they disagree or whatever, and they don't want to talk anymore. They go into the room and they close the door. I shared a room with some of my sisters. So it's like, whatever the bitch has to say, I got to sleep with her. It's like at a certain point, we're not, there's nowhere to go. My mother, our phone was in the middle, like hallway of the house. So it's like, we had one phone there. And if my mother was crying on the phone because, you know, I don't know, some horrible financial thing, we'd be like, Ma, is it not going well? Like, you know, it's like we didn't get to not know anything. We just lived among conflict and got comfortable with it. And I'm fine disagreeing. One of my brothers, Schneer, is very homophobic, but loves me. I think it can be true, and it is true because that's my experience. We speak often. He calls Gabby Toots. He doesn't like it, but he loves us. Like, I don't know. I'm not cut. We don't cut people off either. We all just let live. I don't know. I don't find it's easy for me to disagree. I think rich people cut each other off more. So like, you know, you disagree with me and my father's a Republican and this is like, we just didn't have, there's no cutting off. I was sleeping in a bed, right? Like that's it. Right. So I don't mind disagreeing. And I think where that's hard for people is I can lean into confrontation. I can lean into argument. I love discussing and I love differences. So I actually, it's for me, it's become a point of value.
Do you ever try to convince Schneer about something, about the validity of, well, he's homophobic, try to convince him off that, or just live your life and be yourself and hopefully gets there?
No, I don't even care if he gets there. I don't care if he likes gay people. I don't give a fuck. Like, who cares? I don't care what he thinks. I just like who he is. But I don't care if he gets anywhere or doesn't. I want him to live in dignity. I don't want him to hurt people, obviously. His own opinions are his opinions, but he's been limited by his life experience and he loves me. And I just, listen, it's not a great answer, but it's just this thing that's like, it just is what it is. I don't have any opinion about how he should be or shouldn't be. I just want him to be healthy, happy. So I want a baseline for everyone.
So if you're comfortable in conflict, when does that not work? What are the characteristics of a conflict you had where there was bad feelings or where things did fall?
It does happen. Listen, it happens. I think I think when people are not good with it, I think people who haven't had long-term relationships, first of all, I have 9 siblings. I speak to 6 of them. 3 and we don't get along, but 6 is still some pretty fundamental long plus 30-year relationships. I have friends from childhood. I have new friends from last year. I'm people who don't get used to the ebb and flow of a relationship, be it romantic, be it friendship, be it familial, that's when it becomes too much. They find conflict to be a sign for, obviously there can be, first of all, violent. I don't talk to my father because he's violent.
Yeah.
So that's a line for me. I can't tolerate any violence. But, and that can be, if my brother Schneer was spewing hate speech all the time, I would be sick of it, but we kind of keep to ourselves on some of these things.
Schneer's one of the 6.
Yeah, he's wonderful.
So
it's funny. I just sent him a nightstand because he lives he's very neat and he lives in an apartment with his bed, his couch. And he said, what am I going to do with a nightstand? I said, you're going to use it. Okay. You don't need a cup of water. I don't know. You put a nightstand, you'll put your phone, you'll put a book, your Jergens. I don't know if you jerk. I don't know. You never heard of a nightstand, but it's like getting him. And then he sent me pictures. He's loving the nightstand. Yeah. Never lived with a nightstand. These people, it's so little for them. At first he's like, what am I going to do? Like he's mad. And I'm like, just say thank you.
Right. There's also only one answer to what am I going to do with a nightstand. It's not like
literally,
a sheet of metal.
I'm like, what do you go to the bathroom, brush your teeth, and then you're in bed? Like, what is your life? That he's either out of bed or he's in bed. Like there's no book. There's nothing around the bed. Like it's just, I said, you need somewhere to put, and it was like a fight to get him. And then 2 weeks later, I was like, so any update on the nightstand? Sent me 3 pictures. He's like, love the nightstand. And I sent him one that had a plug in it for his phone. He's like, plug is excellent. I'm like, see? Like, what was he bending down? Like, I'm like, These are simple. It's not even a money thing for him. It's just he doesn't think of a nightstand.
Yeah.
Let alone gay people let alone, you know what I mean? He doesn't think of a nightstand.
So gay people and nightstands are similar to
It's
him. What am I going to do with a gay people?
He's as ignorant with a small table. He probably has been in Walmart many times and seen nightstands.
Or gay people.
And been like, what retards are using these tiny tables? Like to him, a table is to eat. So you have a table. Like he's never even evolved. And he's just, I love him.
It just doesn't make sense to him.
It doesn't make sense. It seems extra.
Level.
It seems like, oh, this is what gay people are doing. They have a nightstand. Like everything is gay with him.
So with things that don't make sense to him, he puts it in category of gay?
Yeah. He's like, there's some gay shit. They have a little table now. And it's like, it's not like we didn't have nightstands. I guess we didn't as kids. But I guess my mother had in her room, she had kind of a desk, but it was it was so close to her bed that she could put stuff on it. I'm trying to think if any room we had bunk beds, so there was no nightstands when you were a kid, but it's like,
you imagine
I mean, it's so crazy that a nightstand is. Gabby's like, why is he yelling about it? I was like, he's returning, he's not accepting the nightstand. Like, he's going to return it to Amazon. I'm like, he's yelling at the guy. So I don't know. I don't even know how we got on that, but that's fair.
No, it's important that we did. His psychology is interesting to me.
I know that we have to, first of all.
Yeah.
I have to show you the nightstand.
Okay.
Okay. I
bet it's a nice nightstand.
We should post the nightstand because it is just.
We should enroll.
It's here it is.
And if we go to Schneer's apartment, this is what we'll say now, because he's come to accept it.
Loves the nightstand.
Look at,
here's him standing, and I have it
makes sense. It's functional.
I have it on WhatsApp too. He sent it twice just to make sure I got. Let's see. You can cut all this, but
no, this is gold. You understand. You understand what drives Patreon listeners.
Okay, but anyway, I don't see it here, but he's loving the nightstand.
Well, you got to send it to us, and we'll just cut to a picture of the nightstand.
Okay. I wish I had all the pictures of it, because he sent me so many.
So I do want to ask you, though, about when you were talking about conflict and people aren't as good with conflict.
Oh, here's the nightstand.
Oh, yeah, let's say.
Okay, and I had to tell him it's in the middle, so I said, it's for next to your bed. You have to put it next to your bed. Because now he just has it in the middle of the floor. He's like this small little gay table.
A stupid table in the middle of the floor.
And I'm like, are you retarded? But he doesn't like things. He's very clean and neat. So then finally he moved it by the bed. But look, it's got a little light, so if he wakes up in the middle of the night, it's censored.
That's nice.
And now it's next to the bed. You see him standing. He's loving the nightstand. We should post this. What? He's single.
Yeah.
And he's an incel.
Yeah. It's hard.
And this is the shelves I sent him. He finally put them up, but he wasn't sure that he wanted to put anything in them. Because he said there's such small drawers on the top. I said it's good to have for because he has a closet where he hangs his work shirts. But I said, but what about your pants? He said he likes to keep them in the duffel bag. I said, you don't need to live in a duffel bag.
Oh, no.
It's like neat in the thing.
Duffel bag.
And I don't know. He doesn't want to take up too much space, even in his own apartment. It's his apartment. I said, put it here. He said, where am I going to put these shelves? So we look out for each other, but we don't understand each other's lives.
Yeah. Well, that's definitely from how we grew up with all those brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
Taking up too much space. Do you have some of that too?
I do. I like small spaces also. I think we're all a little bit into small spaces. But I also can definitely get used to a lifestyle.
So in the beginning of the show, you make a joke about P. Diddy, and then you reveal to the audience, no, of course I'm not in favor of this.
No, I know.
You don't say alleged rapist. Of course not. And I was wondering if you felt you had to let them in on it rather than just think.
No, I just did it for another joke.
Oh, okay.
Because I let them know, of course I'm not, because I like to say the guy who came up to me. I've started adding that.
Yes.
Because then I go, because a guy came up to me and he said, I also thought he was innocent. So that's why I let them know.
But I think a lot of the things you say you probably don't quote unquote believe. I mean, this is what comedians do. They exaggerate and they play with ideas.
1,000%.
Yeah. So, but the only reason you do that with P. Diddy is because of that second joke that's there.
I always do. Like, if I think it's funny, I'll say it. So I level with the audience early on to let them know. But it's because, it's not for them necessarily. It's for me. I know I have something coming that was important that I revealed that.
But then, I don't know, if a very smart audience member or an audience member wants to take it to this level, can then infer, well, these things that she said, these things that made me laugh or didn't or were perhaps crazy, seeming, or offensive, maybe they're in the category of the P. Diddy joke. Maybe they're not things she literally
Yeah, I don't
with.
care.
Like rock climbing.
Yeah, I just don't care. I don't care. So what are you going to do if somebody doesn't care?
Well, that's true, but the only consideration, I think, would be to have the audience. There is a calculation that some comics do not to lose the audience, to have the audience on your side. So are you saying at your shows, when you sell tickets to your shows and it's a Robby Hoffman show, the audience gets you and is going to be on your side?
My audience, I have been word of mouth. I have been person by person. My audience rides for me.
Yeah.
You know what you're getting when you're like, they're wanting it. Like, I don't know. It's only growing person by person. And when you're signing on to this, you're signing on to it.
When you speak about the audience in the abstract, you're always very complimentary. But at the time, do you bully the audience a little bit?
Never.
No, come on.
No, I don't. This is how, when I rag on you, I'm enjoying you.
Yeah. And I think
it's like my best friend Carmen. When I call him a faggot and incel, I love him. These are terms of endearment for me. But my brother is an incel. My own flesh and blood. It couldn't be, so no, it's that, I'm a 6-year-old flirting.
Yeah.
Where a 6-year-old doesn't know, so they poke at and they have a little bit of fun at your expense, but not seriously. And if I ever do cross the line and I actually hurt somebody's feelings, I'm kind of quick to apologize because it isn't my intention. I think, like I say, and people are starting to know this about me, I am opposite Ellen. Ellen comes off as kind. She purports to be kind and nice. She's dancing, right? But she's actually a terror to work with. People have heard this, right?
Yeah. There's some documentation out on it, yeah.
Well, I'm kind of the opposite. I come out aggressive. I am a little rough around the edges, but I'm actually a fucking delight to work with. All right? So it'll come out one day that I'm kind. You wait and see. You wait and see. Just because I'm aggressive in this is a way to be kind too. You don't have to be the fake nicey-nicey. I'm generous, kind, all the stuff.
I think I have this theory that people who put kind in their Twitter profiles, I don't know how you test it, are probably less kind than the average person. It's
bizarre.
Yeah.
Just because I'm yelling at you doesn't mean I'm mad. Just because I'm complaining doesn't mean I'm not enjoying. Like, there's nuance to everything, you know what I mean? It's just like, just because I'm aggressive doesn't mean I'm not kind. Mm-hmm. Yes, when I give a homeless person money, for instance, like I feel, I say, good luck. I said, please, that's it with the windows. Take this and goodbye. That's it. And I see the same guy every week in LA and I go, no, I'm not in the mood, but here, come, please, my lights. My lights. And if he makes me miss the light, he goes, I'm sorry. I'm like, bro, we love each other.
Yeah. You know what that guy needs?
And I hate if he's not there. I'm like, I'm here today. Where is he? But so there's different ways. There's not like one way to be anything. There's not one way to play your cards. There's not one rule. Everything is everything.
Yeah. I also think Ellen is definitely unlike you because she's one of these people who falls back onto, I was going to say psychobabble, but a lot of psychology-laden jargon and the phrases like my truth and these kind of boring phrases that paper over and excuse the interesting parts of a personality. Like, I watched her special, and she even did this thing really where she claimed something about, I'm making mistakes, but I'm human. And then she paused, and of course the audience had to applaud, and it went on for like 18 seconds. And she has the cut on that. And I thought that was the most indulgent thing. I like Ellen, I'm fine with her, but that just there's something about that made my skin crawl.
Ellen's a legend. Ellen is a G. There's no question. I think she's one of the greatest to ever do it. I'll say that I saw that special live at the Largo, and it was amazing. She was a bit more fuckery, which I really liked. I know she's got this whole brand. She's still trying to salvage some kind brand. I wish she just went fuck off. I just wish she just, for what we put Ellen through, she comes out, you cancel her show. It had amazing ratings. It was just overt, we hardened her. The industry hardened her, then she becomes hard, and then we yell at her for being hard. I think everything is a product of everything. So I still think she's a legend. I'm sure all the Jimmies aren't any nicer than her. I'm sure, it's not accident that these people, some of the people we canceled the most are black, are women. Cosby needed to be canceled. There's no question. But you don't think members of the Catholic Church or the government, you don't think other comedians, I think everybody is just as bad as everyone. Everybody can be just as good as everybody. The people we decide to target are societally more excited. It triggers something in people. I think black people and women get canceled really hard. Roseanne got canceled really hard. I think fine. She also, you know what I mean? But I think I'm not excusing what any of these people do. I just think it's interesting to look at who has the biggest cancellations and who gets the forgiveness.
Do you feel that your appeal...
Like Puff Daddy.
Go ahead.
How many Puff Daddies are there? Thousands. I don't think... And then Jews, Weinstein went down. How many Weinsteins do you think there are?
Right.
I'm just saying that it continues to be the marginalized that are made the biggest examples. They're shitty. I'm not excusing, but there's a million regular Gentile people doing this shit.
A lot of people wouldn't make the distinction between Jew and Gentile. It's just white. It's all white.
No, Weinstein, Epstein, there's a lot of Epstein.
And not because of what they did, but because they're Jews.
Listen, they deserve to go down.
Yes.
The way they went down, they took a hit for many other powerful people. Bill Gates isn't going down.
Right.
Bill Gates is a hit on him. There's many people who can go down who we don't even know of. They're not necessarily on our radar right now if they pop, but they don't. We need a fall guy every so often for these crimes that many people do. But most definitely it's going to be a black guy, it's going to be a Jew, or it's going to be a woman.
So the last thing...
I think. And just pattern of who has gone down the hardest and then who gets to go up again.
So the last thing I want to ask you about is something that I didn't realize until I saw you live, and people listening to this will not get, even people watching this. You're an extremely physical performer and bend at very many angles. So, and you're friendly with, or I don't know if anyone's made the comparison. They probably have, since he's a huge comedian, but Sebastian Maniscalco.
Oh,
to me,
amazing.
Yes, and I think that... Well, I have a couple questions. He's a trained dancer. Does it just come?
God.
Does it come to you naturally, or is it one of those things where
Yes.
you realize when you gestured funny, they laughed more? It's like, oh, maybe I'll do that some more.
My body is operating on its own. Just like I'm not thinking necessarily how I'm talking to you. I haven't thought any place about my hands. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing on stage. I might be, but my body is... So many of my bits are so visceral, I can feel them, and I could, like, if I do a bit about how somebody goes to the bathroom, I'm literally walking like them. The conveying of it, the girl on the airplane who closed the bathroom door behind her, I want you to see what the fuck I saw.
Right.
And I just, it's as if I'm replaying a movie in my head. Like, it's just... I don't have to think of it. Again, I know when I say that bit again, I'm going to watch the movie. It's like rewinding. And I see that bitch getting in the bathroom. and I see how she's getting out of it. Like, it's not, I don't even have to remember a lot of my stuff in that way because I could see it.
You're just telling them what happened.
Like some things like that, the physical parts, I think that you're saying, more impressions or whatever. I also come from a loud, talky family, physically talky family. Jews are not, we have elbows on the table. We're not polite. There's a lot of hand talking. There's a lot of my mother from across the aisle in the supermarket going, shut the fuck up.
With a gesture.
Just like gestures. There's a lot of talking, like,
I think you have.
So there's a lot of physical talking.
Yeah.
As much as there is. We use everything at our disposal. And maybe because I'm small, Sebastian's small too, maybe I need to be louder or something. Maybe I don't know.
Do you think if I watched your show 5 times, you would bend at the same angles every time for every joke in the same way?
I don't think exactly, but I think you'll get a lot of bending.
At one point, it seemed to me, is she davening? I mean, you do a full top body bend. All the way.
Yeah, people have. Listen, Gabby says I'm always moving and dancing with Gabby, but I'm not like a dancer. She's a dancer. She, when Dancing with the Stars, I mean, she was an NFL cheerleader for 5 years. I mean, she's been dancing her whole life, but I'm always dancing and singing. I sing a lot in my day. I don't have the worst voice singing-wise, it turns out. That's according to Gabby. But my dancing is abysmal, but I still enjoy to do it.
Oh, and the last thing I want to ask you is, does Schneer or any of your relatives, anyone still call you Rivka?
They all call me Rivki.
Yeah, Rivki.
Yeah.
That. And is that a different name than Rivkala?
Yeah, Rivka is like my given name.
Yeah.
But Rivki is like the Robert Robby.
Do you want, I see, right, more or less formal. When you tell jokes about your birth certificate and it says Robby, is that just so the audience doesn't get confused?
Yeah, I don't need, my mother, when I first went by Robby, which is my uncle Rob's name, and that's why I took it, because I was like just starting stand-up, but I was also working in an accounting firm, and I was getting paid every 2 weeks for the first time and loving the money. I was like...
Canadian money, but still.
Yeah, so I wasn't about to like ruin nothing doing stand-up because I was like, what could, So I wanted a different stage name. So my friend Steph, who was helping me make this show, was like, now's our chance to change your name, whatever. And I was looking for an R. I didn't want to change like my initial. It felt really fast. And my Uncle Rob was in the family, and I never heard a bad thing about him. And so I went with... Robby, and my mother was like, why, it's such a beautiful Jewish name, Rivka, why are you ashamed, as if I had shame. And I'm like, Ma, you think within 30 seconds of me being on stage, everybody's like, I wonder if she's Catholic. Like, there's nothing to hide. Like, you cannot hide. Like, there's nothing like nefarious going on here, Ma. It's like, I don't want to be brought up. And they're like, Ravuka, like nobody knows how to say what the fuck you gave me. So it just worked in the end.
Robby Hoffman, Rivka Hoffman, if you will, if you're from Canada. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You can follow Too Far Pod. We are Patreon only. We've made it affordable, $5. If you're too poor and you can't afford it, then you can't afford it. It's like, if you don't have money, don't be splurging on Patreon.
Right. Like when you go to the Dwayne Reed and the toothpaste.
If I was you 10 years ago, I wouldn't be spending on Patreon. It's not a priority. If you have an extra $5, okay. But do not be mincing me to do this podcast. And I'm Robby Hoffman on Instagram, nudes and show dates. Thank you.
Thank you. That was excellent.
Oh, my God. I adore you.
Oh, that's excellent.
I adore you. You're an excellent interviewer.